I smoke for habit and because I love the hand to mouth thing because I'm an old hippie and I used to hot box joints. And I like to get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee and have a joint, or a pipe, a little freshie. So I'm quite surprised by all of this because for years now I've been telling people, oh, an isolate isn't nearly as good as the full spectrum and the whole complement of compounds that you can get in the whole plant, right? And now I'm having to eat my words about that because this one terpene has really done so much for me.
Welcome to Season 5 of the Cannabis Truth podcast. Your host is Honey Smith Walls, author of the new book, Healing Beyond High, Cannabis Truth, a gentle, practical guide for elders to learn cannabis fundamentals safely and effectively without overuse or overwhelm. In a world where the FDA has yet to stamp its approval on this ancient natural remedy, Honey Smith Walls bridges the gap between Western healthcare norms, uplifting benefits and relief through gentle cannabis plant therapies. Join this 21st century cannabis shaman, uniquely positioned to assess the green intentions of medical, farming, and business industries in cannabis and uncover fascinating historical, political, scientific, and spiritual facets of the plant.
There we are. Hi, audience. Have to let my audience know I made a rookie mistake or something happened. The recording popped off, and I just now started recording our conversation, I guess, that Dr. Jean Talleyrand and I have been having. It's so fascinating. You've
Great
missed, I'm not kidding you, you have missed the last 20 minutes of some of the best cannabinoid juju on the planet. But we're just going to continue our conversation because it doesn't matter what we talk about. We've got Dr. T here with us. And let me catch us up for just a second. He and I met at Cannabis Public School, which you all know I've talked about over and over and over again and love and adore. It's every Sunday at noon Eastern on LinkedIn and somewhere in some of my shows somewhere. You'll see a link, but Dr. Talleyrand is there all the time, and that's where we meet with other not only medical professionals but advocates like myself. I'm not a doctor or scientist, and we talk about cannabis in fascinating ways on many different levels in this industry. So, Dr. Talleyrand, if you wouldn't mind just telling our audience again who you are, where you work, where you live, all that wonderful, juicy stuff. You don't have to tell them what color undies you wear, but that'd be fun.
I'm happy to be here, honey, and who I am. Dr. Jean Talleyrand. I am a family practice physician. So
there we go.
Studied family medicine way back in 1995. I finished my training in 98 here in San Francisco, California, which is where I was introduced to cannabis. During my training, the law had passed in California in 96. And during my training, some patients introduced me to cannabis and asked to use cannabis rather than opiates. And I thought, what a great idea.
Yeah.
And been learning from these patients ever since. So 25 years of evaluating them, learning from them. I give consultations now to those who need advice, who have complex medical problems and are using cannabis. I also started a research group where we're doing some fascinating studies on dosage and how cannabis affects your mind. I also started a classification system where businesses can now classify their products by chemistry rather than by smoking it in a back room and raising hands. So, and right now, anyone who wants, it's free. Discoveryourcolor.co. Just upload a COA and get a symbol and a color, and that'll let you know what kind of cannabis you're using. Type 1,
no
type 2.
kidding.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, yeah. I'm going to drop a link somewhere about that or have a banner with that on it. That'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
We do need classification and all different kinds of systems set up around cannabis. One around inebriation so that we understand, our level of inebriation. I don't like to use the word intoxication because it implies toxicity when I don't believe that getting high is toxic unless it's interfering with you in some way. So, language is another key element of cannabis that it just rolls underneath us with new meanings every day. Sativa and indica. Botanical names for the way the plant grows has been usurped to mean sedative, or energetic, and that just ain't right at all. But they use it, and so we kind of have to roll with how the public is able to grasp this really complex plant in these little teeny tiny spoon-filled ways that aren't even correct, are they?
Well, we tackled that back in 2015. There was this contest, right, by a lot of legacy users. And we asked, how are you classifying your plants? Are you looking at the way it looks? And they were like, no, because they blended them too much.
Yep.
And so
Hybrids.
They were classifying by aroma. Those that had the floral aroma versus a fruity aroma versus a more fuel-like aroma or earthy aroma. So come to, aromas influenced by the terpenes. And so it was interesting to see what the chemistry was behind that aroma. And that's how we came up with our classification system. We used those aromas and sort of worked our way backwards to look at the chemistry of the plant.
So there are thousands of terpenes that people smell and taste and all of that. And we can totally conjure up the smell of a lemon and know that the limonene in that is what we're smelling. And that grows in cannabis, and it's got a medicinal component to it. And so multiple medicinal components to it that that's different than and similar to the cannabinoids that it plays with. So so the classification of the aromas, I know there's diesel and there's citrus and there's skunk and and there's pine. We can really conjure up those aromas. But they're still not telling us what the other compounds are that are blended in with that to build that aroma up that also have their own medicinal properties. It's so complex.
Right. And some people don't smell so well either, and so that doesn't help them. Yeah, so using the laboratory values is the most objective way. And now that there's a lot of regulations where people are asked to send their products to the lab, we've got a lot of valuable information we can use to classify things now.
Yeah, that's going to help a lot. And in Michigan, they still have, in the dispensaries, they have these great big jars of cannabis flowers, and they'll just unscrew the lid and shove it under your nose and let you back flush all your nasal bacteria into it and then sell it to everybody. And so I'm kind of, I just moved up here to Michigan a year ago. I used to live in Florida for 35 years. When it finally became legal in 2016, they're very medicinal about their cannabis in Florida. It just comes in plain white, packages with the word written on it in plain font, and and that's what it is. But up here, I totally forgot the path that I was going on. But anyway, I appreciate the different systems that everybody is trying to conjure right now. It's fun watching the grassroots of systems come up.
Right. Right. And in California, we had that what they call deli style, where you have the big open bin and they smell it and they reach in, and that's what they used to do before they regulated more and put it in individual packages. A lot of people missed that style because they were allowed to look at it and see how fresh it was and see the aroma. But there are some, health and cleanliness concerns there too. And if we have a classification system that we can use that lets us know how old it is and what type it is, then all those things can be displayed on the package without having to use deli style.
Do you think there's a connection between the world going through prohibition of cannabis and COVID rising?
Prohibition of cannabis? You mean repeal of prohibition of cannabis?
No, I don't mean the repeal of it. I mean, the world has been prohibited from using cannabis mostly for the past 100 years too. That was a political shenanigans of our American president and his wife. And so, undoing all of those treaties that, swore they would never allow cannabis upon pain of beheading, what to do with those. And that's been part of the problem of Schedule 1 and reclassifying, is having to break a lot of treaties with other countries that said we would never. But, gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, COVID. Right. So the world's been prohibited from using cannabis, and Dr. Ethan Russo's, and all his work with the endocannabinoid system deficiency that he talks about a lot now. And I'm wondering if more Parkinson's, more ADHD, more cancers, more tumors, more COVID, more pandemics that could overtake our systems. And it feels like it went around the world because all of us had been prohibited from using cannabinoids, which are anti-everything.
Yes. You raise a great point. Are there diseases now that are more prevalent because we haven't had cannabis around as part of our regular
diet?
Diet, yes, exactly.
Our chickens, pigs, cows, goats, everybody, all our food system had cannabis until 100 years ago when our country wiped all that out off the planet.
Right. That's an interesting, the disease is so multifactorial from, there's the Industrial Revolution too that might have contributed a lot to what is making people sick right now. But maybe they wouldn't have gotten as sick if we had cannabis around during the Industrial Revolution too. So yeah, good point.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
For years, I've been dealing with lots of arthritis pain and pain from neuropathy that has not been resolved through other prescriptive methods. As an advocate educator in the cannabis industry, I learned lots of interesting information about the compounds within the plants, and one of those turned out to be beta-caryophyllene.
What was your first dose like?
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. It has given me my future back.
I want to get it out to everybody too. I want to get it out to the whole world, as a matter of fact. It has so many mitigating factors for all the stresses of life and pain and diseases. It is unbelievable, the spectrum of care that it can provide.
Well, I love this cannabis industry and all that it can do because it's not just medicine. Ford made his first cars out of it. Airplane has been made, out of cannabis already. And Chernobyl was cleaned up by it. The white guys never would have made it over here without cannabis, because you can't move a ship without rope and sails, both made from cannabis.
Right.
So, the history of this plant is global and rich and amazing, and so much fun to consider. But it's truly complex, even though it's complex. I tell everybody, if you can add butter and syrup to pancakes, you can do cannabis, right?
Yes.
Right.
I think especially for the over 55 crowd, which I am one of the, aches and pains, it's just so important. Although I think part of what you're finding at the dispensaries with the lack of education keeps those folks away. But it's just, these days what we're trying to do is we're trying to reach out to assisted living facilities or
thank goodness,
and going to bring it there, show and tell. Let's talk about the endocannabinoid system and THC and CBD and dosing and different ways to use it. I mean, people think that that you have to smoke it, but you don't have to.
Right.
You can rub it on, right?
Right. You can spray it on. You can use gummies. You can have salves. You can put it in your belly button. The peyote method that's so, older than God, in a little tincture or something. And so there's just all different kinds of ways of using it. What do you think about that one terpene that's often found in cannabis, but it's coming out as a single compound now and in a liposomal form? I don't want to live without it. It's called beta-caryophyllene.
Oh, beta-caryophyllene, yes.
I just love that terpene because it acts the way smoking a joint does for me.
Oh, really?
Yes, except it does a little bit more than cannabis can. It handles my painful fingertip neuropathy and has taken that down from a level 10 to about a 3 or 4 so that I'm happy. I can manage with this. And cannabis wasn't doing that for me. No, I take a dropper, half a dropper full of this, kind of tastes like caramel apples and in the back of your it's just a few drops of it, about 10 drops, and I take it daily, and that has cut down my cannabis use quite a bit, because before, of course, people do what they can and what they have access to. Right. So we grow our own here. I have no idea what it is. It's grown outside, and so I smoke it. I could make a tincture, or something out of it, but my hands hurt and I'm busy and I don't have time for all that. So I just smoke it.
In the ground or in a pot?
Yeah, it's in a pot over. Yeah, it's in the pot. There's about 10 of them. They're real big and real pretty and about to pop now. So, and we had one that hermied. And so we had to get rid of it because it was dusting yellow dust all over me for some reason. I couldn't even look at it without it spewing dust all over me. And its little seeds were just popping out all over the place. So we had to get rid of that guy. Yeah, that little male plant. But beta-caryophyllene has helped me lessen my cannabis usage. Now, I just want to say, I'm a smoker. I love to smoke the raw plant. But when you need cannabis, it's like if you're thirsty, but you just go take a shower, you're not really quenching the thirst inside. Right. Yeah, you're getting water on you, but you're not really quenching the thirst. So that's what I liken smoking to. It's only going to last for a couple of hours. It really helps acute pain, but I need to ingest the plant. And so what what this company found about beta caryophyllene is that if you use it in enough, big enough volume, percentage, whatever, then you really get amazing benefits from it. So I was going into this terrible depression because people around me were dropping dead like flies. And I had this weird spasming bladder that kept getting me up in the middle of the night about 3 times. That was unusual and new. And then my hands started hurting so bad, every hour on the hour it was waking me up. I couldn't sleep. So my quality of life had gone down. And then I started taking beta caryophyllene in this form from this particular company that I love. And it's BC Plus, Dr. Philip Blair. It instantly lifted my mood. I mean, within minutes of taking the first few drops, it calmed that neuropathy down in my hands where I didn't think about it for the rest of the day. And that night, I did not get up once. It tamed that spasming organ, that my bladder, and I could sleep all night. So it instantly gave me relief enough to sleep. And of course, the next day I felt much better. So I've been doing this for a couple months now.
Nice.
And it's really taken my cannabis smoking down a lot because I don't need to anymore. I can use the one terpene.
So do you find that you use the beta caryophyllene for certain situations and then you smoke for different reasons now?
Yes. I smoke for habit and because I love the hand to mouth thing because I'm an old hippie and I used to hotbox joints in the bathroom, in the girls' bathroom. So that's most of the, conditioning in my head. And I like to get up in the morning, have a cup of coffee and have a joint, or a pipe, a little, freshie. And so, but I instantly take my BC Plus in the morning. And if I know that I'm going to have a stressful something or another that evening or that afternoon or, whatever it is, I'll take more. And a couple of nights, I just couldn't go to sleep. And although it gives you energy, it really helps you sleep too. So I'm quite surprised by all of this because for years now I've been telling people, an isolate isn't nearly as good as the full spectrum and the whole complement of compounds that you can get in the whole plant, right? And now I'm having to eat my words about that because this one terpene has really done so much for me, lifted my quality of life immensely.
Yeah. But everyone's different. And when you find something that works for you, even if it's a single, now you're not necessarily doing an isolate, you're doing a broad spectrum flower by inhaling the smoke. And then you're doing an isolate to target a particular problem.
Thank you. So it really is a full complement.
I
didn't think of it that way. Thank you for reframing my morning for me.
Beta caryophyllene is so cool. It's got this anti-inflammatory effect, which may be why it's helping with your finger.
The neuropathy and all of that. Yeah, because I got really terrible arthritis too. But the neuropathy is a result of an accident a few years back, and it just came on like that. I felt like a spring coil in my arm when it happened. Yeah. And then bang, I've suddenly got neuropathy at the end of both of my fingers. And I can't tell the difference between a piece of paper and my billfold in my purse.
Okay.
So I don't feel hot and cold anymore. It's weird.
Do they feel it's pinched from your spine?
Yes. And so I still go to a chiropractor and get manipulated, and that is helping a lot.
Yeah.
So chiropractics are important.
Yeah.
Hey, you're a family doctor, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you something near and dear to my heart as a woman.
Okay.
What's your opinion about hormones for women? I mean, do you recommend that women, check their hormones and go get them replaced if they need it? Or is that not something?
I don't, although I'm not against it. I'm open because I'm out in the world. I meet all types, and so I like to say, there's arguments for and arguments against. To me personally, although I'm not a woman, the arguments for are a little bit better than the arguments against, but if I had a family history of breast cancer, I probably wouldn't take estrogen. So it's
wow. Okay.
Yeah, things like that. You would yeah.
Thank you for that. God, I appreciate that little juicy tidbit because, like you say, everybody's different, and I'm not getting the same answer out of any two people on this subject. I'm really not. So it feels like, as a woman, it feels like we're alone in this, searching for, the needle in the haystack answer. And and it's a little scary because they talk about preventing Alzheimer's by taking estrogen, preventing heart attack, protecting the myelin sheath around your heart with progesterone, and testosterone just made me grow hair in the places that I don't even want to discuss. So
there's a lot of benefit to taking it. It's new. We evolved in a certain way. Maybe this is sort of the next step. But if there are no risk factors, definitely, then I would lean toward taking it, especially if I was struggling with perimenopausal symptoms.
Right. And I don't know a woman who doesn't struggle with it. I mean, it's such a common frustration for women. Right. So I would love to be able to get some sort of real, pat answer, but there just doesn't seem to be any.
By the way, my mom does not take. She's a pharmacist.
Thank you for telling us that.
And my mom, but she's a pharmacist who does not like prescription medicines.
Right.
She would hesitate in giving us aspirin as kids. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I just gave my turkey CBD slathered all over her berries and nuts so that she'll help with a little bumblefoot infection she's got going on. So I've turned into a farm girl up here in Michigan, and my girl Yaya, the turkey, has a situation going on. So I'm trying to correct it by giving her antimicrobial, antibiotic, anti-inflammatory cannabis.
What is bumblefoot? I don't know that one.
So her feet swelled up like she's an old lady with cankles and fat feet. And they're supposed to have real narrow, 3 nice long toes, but her feet are as big as both my hands. So, so I'm using cannabis to help her get past it. Plus, a product from the feed store. They said, "Oh yeah, use Blue Coat on her." So I have to dab this stuff on her, and her feet turned purple. And I think we may be going jewelry shopping soon because it's such a lovely shade. But most of my animals get cannabis at one time or another, especially during the 4th of July, to calm their anxiety over the stupidity of 8-year-old boys that have to go out and blow up shit. And I so appreciate knowing what your mom, the pharmacist, thinks about estrogen. That's deep. That's deep because she really understands compounds. And so, man, yeah.
Sometimes the science wants you to run the other way, right?
Yeah. So how do you fill your days? Are you busy with patients? Are you teaching? Are you, in the lab playing around with the chemicals, or what's going on?
I've got a 14-year-old that I'm still raising.
I see, Dad. I see you now.
So that's a priority, but I do consult with patients, and then we have research meetings. Like right now, we're completing a grant proposal for an EEG study with
Oh,
cannabis, and then I work with this group in getting in getting education around the classification system. Though
oh, that's
we
great.
so I'm bopping around here and there. We're also working on doing a study for a CBD product with a group out here. So,
Oh, excellent. Oh, good.
yeah.
I'm glad to hear it.
Do
What are
you
the
want to
other?
go in the study?
I'd love to be in this study. Are you kidding? Yes, thank you.
I'll
So
put you on the
what do I
list.
have to do? Okay, what do I have to do?
You just have to try a CBD product and complete a survey.
Is it
Very
an isolate or will it be a full spectrum?
It's a combination of CBD and CBG. It's
Oh,
got a
good.
little THC, but very little.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and it's intended for chronic pain. What's cool about it is it's a pump. So you push the pump and it delivers about half a tablespoon of liquid that you can put in your tea or coffee or juice.
Really?
And you can easily dispense, and you can drink your medicine. It's nano emulsified, so it gets
It's
in.
nano emulsified. I love that. Okay. So,
I knew
audience,
you would
that
know
just
that.
means I do. It just means that they have taken it down to a smaller, not even, it's not a molecule size, it's smaller than that. It's nano, it's teensy, 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 weensy. And so it gets through your system and into your drinks and all that, whatever you want, so much easier. And that means that the bioavailability of it goes further for you. You get
You're a
more bang
scientist.
for your buck. This is great. Good. And I do want to be part of the global clinical trials studies. So I want to lend support in that way because that's easy. That's
Yeah,
easy for us to be in trials.
yeah. And if you find something that works for you too, that could be good.
And then ding, 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 we are looking for that working product. So
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Now, would you recommend that I have to stop my other products to use this and try it and see how it works, or take it with it?
Part of it is to just watch you guys do what you do. Whether you want
Mhm.
to continue or not is really up to you. We're going to watch what you do, and learn from that, sort of an
Great.
observation at first. And then with that, we'll draw our hypothesis and zero in on a particular question to solve. But this is early on where we're just here, here, try this, do what you can, and we'll let you know everything that's in it, and let's see what it does for you.
You sound very, very busy, and I'm really tickled for you.
It's a labor. I didn't think I was going to do cannabis. I was, just going to be your regular general practitioner doctor, but somehow I made a left turn. The patients made me make a left turn, and now it's just I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It's the future, it's the past, it's the
Yeah.
present. It's
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, it really, really is.
Mhm.
I love that, I love that we both know that. It's so fun turning on a new doctor to the the future, the past, and the present.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah,
great when they get it. And
yes,
and I have heard this story of conversion plenty of times now because the patients start outliving the prognoses, and it's because of the cannabis that they're using. And oh, here's your pills back, by the way. So
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It's a wonderful story.
Yeah, one of our studies is this epidemiological study where we're looking at the population in Northern California that, like I said, have been using cannabis for quite a while. I mean, they don't measure their cannabis by the gram or the bud, they measure it by the bucket, right? Because they're all grown, right? They're all farm people out there, but they've lived with cannabis for a couple decades, a couple generations right now. And so really learning, is this harmful? Is this helpful? Are you living longer? Are you living happier than the regular population? What is cannabis doing for you? I think it will be very eye-opening to sort of look at that data and see what.
Dang, you almost lost CBD products. What was it in California?
Yes.
I was watching Megan Bang's Trusted Canaaners products and the stuff that she was putting out on the socials. And Jesus, it was scary watching the legislators try to usurp what's in the little black bag of, a medical professional. Stop it.
Yeah. Yes, it's about money. It's just about money.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Are you hopeful or fearful for the next election?
I'm very hopeful now.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad to hear it. Okay, I didn't want to say it too loud.
Yeah. Are you kidding? I think it's a big turnaround. We've got a couple more months, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you say that. I had to turn off the news, had to turn off the politics, had to stop that hateful noise going on because it was affecting my quality of life. And I did that more than a year ago. And guess what? After 35 years, I got off blood pressure pills.
Oh, wow.
After 35 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, and my blood pressure was
watching the news?
Well, my husband croaked. That helped.
Oh. How does that help? How does that help?
Well, we did a lot of bickering. And
okay.
hello, political bickering and that sort of stuff. And then you listen to all that crap coming in all the time, and it affected me. Mm-hmm. And it affected our relationship,
Yeah.
So he was 90. It was his time to go. So he died about a year ago, and truly not worrying about him as a woman, a wife, a lover, and all of that stuff. That too has given me peace of mind and autonomy. It's the first time I've had autonomy as a woman and getting to make my own decisions, using enough cannabis to and figure out that beta-caryophyllene is a huge help for me personally and that sort of thing. Podcasting, talking to lovely people like you, and understanding more about cannabis and this world. And how we can uplift each other and love each other better through plant medicines. So
now, when you smoke, are you someone that will finish the joint, or you just take a couple of puffs?
Couple puffs, that's it. Just a little, that's all I need.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, I know people who need 2-3 joints in one sitting, and then I know people who do the couple of puffs. No, I mean, I would be under the table. They're just normal.
Sit there and smoke.
They just, I think, and it's interesting because people worry about tolerance, Oh, am I going to get hooked on it and use more and more and more? I don't find that. I find people like you who have used it for years, but just need a little bit every time. And then I find other people who use a lot, and that's just, they've always needed a lot, and they use it a lot all the time too. So it's not something that escalates. You find your dose and then you stick with it.
Also, cancer patients and patients with tumors, they use high percentage doses, high walloping doses for a while, for a certain amount of time. And they have success with their dosage plan and how much, and their bodies are able to tolerate high doses. But,
Yeah.
hello, cancer patients and tumor patients, and, their
Yeah.
bodies have to tolerate a lot to get over that stuff.
Yeah. And it's an approach. I mean, it's an unproven approach to do high dose, but it started out with Rick Simpson and him, talking about high dose. Also, they did those toxicology studies on animals and saw that the animals weren't getting the cancers they normally got. So maybe, it is a high dose thing. I have even seen folks with like pancreatic cancer, though, who, this one gentleman, he said, I just smoke a joint a day. And, he's had pancreatic cancer for 14 years. Yeah, that's impossible. Like, you don't
That's
see
impossible. You don't see
that.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually on average, a year or
What's
two.
the profile of that? Or is he just smoking
I don't
everything?
know.
Right.
This is the
Wow.
magic that we have to figure out, right?
Exactly.
That's what makes it
Exactly.
exciting.
It does. And it's exciting because you hear stuff like that. I walked into a place one time with a girlfriend who was blind, and she had a very uncomfortable wobble in her eyes. And she had only been blinded for a few years. But we walked into this CBD store, and they were offering these little samples, just a little itty bitty cup. She drank some water that had nano CBD in it this couple of years ago. And I want you to know, within minutes, her eyes stopped wobbling, and she grabbed me and said that had never happened before, and it felt so wonderful. So, I hear stories like this all the time, and it's just so glorious because people are finding great, great relief with this plant therapy.
Yeah. Figuring out what works for who and how much. But yes, it's definitely a journey. It's a journey with the plant.
So are you a patient too, or an adult user of the plant? Do you enjoy, just sitting around the table?
I've used it for about 20 years. And
Me too.
It's definitely helps with the stress. It helps with the aches and pains, when I try to do my exercises.
Right.
It hurts a little bit more, and it's nice to have an anti-inflammatory after a workout. So it's nice.
Yeah. But it helps with that acute pain too. I mean, it just instantly takes care of it. And then you can think about other things, because when your body says pain, you are thinking about that pain. You are thinking about that pain.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, well, Dr. T, go ahead.
I was going to say, I spoke to a woman yesterday who has headaches every day. And if it wasn't for cannabis, they're still trying to figure out how to stop her headaches. But imagine having headaches every day. I would definitely be depressed. That is difficult.
A lot of menopausal women have headaches every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's another potential reason.
Right.
Yeah.
And I got bit by a spider. I don't know what kind it was, but it hurt like hell, and it swelled up on my thigh about this big. And I slathered some CBD that had a bunch of THC in it too. I couldn't tell you what the profile was. And I want you to know that went down within an hour to about like this big, and it was just barely pink. Before that, it was as red as my shirt. So, cannabis can do a lot for spider bites. I was not surprised to find out.
Yeah, sounds like it was a histamine reaction. That's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to find all kinds of fun things to apply this plant to. I want to thank you so much for coming and playing with me today and just talking about our beloved plant, cannabis. And it's so nice to see you, and I appreciate what you do, Dr. Talleyrand. And I love seeing you every Sunday.
Yeah. No, you have this incredible joy that comes out wherever you are. So That's medicine too. Keep
You're
spreading
sweet. You're sweet. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I hope you'll come back and talk to us anytime that we've got some wonderful news or you just want to come play.
Sure. Absolutely. It's fun.
Thank you so much, Dr. T. We'll see you in class on Sunday, okay?
Yeah, I'll be there.
You take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. It is important to use verifiably safe products and look out for yourself while we're in this wild, wild west of cannabis right now. Ask for help. It can get complicated. If you need serious medical attention, please consult one of the specialists at cannabisclinicians.org. They will get you to the right person and therapy for your issues. Tune in here for weekly foundational knowledge and learn to determine the best choices and cannabis strategies for your issues. But please be advised that shamans are not doctors or scientists. You'll find those at cannabisclinicians.org. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you for your time today.